Let's say we want to export a MIDI file to our iPhone. How do we do that? Well, here I've got this one. So that's a chord progression I made a while ago, but what we would go ahead and do is we can export it as a MIDI file, and once we have that MIDI file, you can also download them from the internet, but once we know where it is, we can go ahead, right-click on it, click Share, and we will do an airdrop. And once we airdrop this to my iPhone, you will see it prompt. And if the iPhone knows that it has an app we can open that with, we can go ahead and pick that. Pretty cool. So how do we do that? How do we write the code that actually does that? Well, I've already uploaded a project for you guys on my GitHub. Go ahead, click the first link in the description. It will take you right there, and you can download the zip file for that. Now, I haven't updated the code and everything in this tab, and I'm pretty unorganized with GitHub right now. I'm going to try and do that. In the version, I set it to 1.1 because I guess the airdrop is a little bit of an improvement. But for now, just bear with me and just download the binary right there. And that will take us, this actually has the Xcode project in it, so it's not like the app or anything, but it has the Xcode project we can go ahead and open up. And once we open that up, I'm going to take you guys to the website which actually helped me do this. This is from Apple, and we're going to set up what's called a document browser inside of your app. So when you're airdropping your files, this is kind of that browser that displays that file. You can see it right now on my iPhone. So first thing we had to do, I had to go to my main.storyboard, and I had to add this empty view controller, which we assign to something later, but I add an empty view controller and make it the root one. So in that way, we just make sure that this is the first view controller. And this is what will show when our app is opened. And then I put in the Apple code. So the way you can get that code, simplest way to do it, you just go to Welcome to Xcode, create a new Xcode project, and we can create a document-based app. So I'm just gonna name this whatever, I don't care. Man, my computer is just going ham right now. I don't know if you guys can hear the fan. So anyway, we have the code right here that Apple made for us. Yay, Apple. So that was pretty simple, right? So you just copy those files over to here, and it's pretty easy to integrate them inside your project. So this one is that view controller that we have right here in the storyboard. So in order to get that to work, it's pretty simple. All we have to do is we go here, and we click here, and then it should say the name, which it's not showing up right now. There we have it. So we just type in that class name, which we see right here. The names must match, so make sure they match. And then right here where this says view controller at the bottom, that is hooked up to the view controller that's going to open once I click on a file, which is our Steel Pan app that plays MIDI files. So you want to make sure that that storyboard ID is filled out to view controller, or whatever name you want. It just has to match, or else it's not going to work. It's going to give you an error that it doesn't match. So that's another thing I did. Then we have the document file, which you don't need to modify at all. And we also have the app delegate file, which you do need to modify. You need to add in this application function, which what this is going to do is once you airdrop a file to your app, it's going to copy that file URL and actually give it to our app. So that gives the location. It tells our app that's where that file is. Now I want you to copy it to our app space. And once that file is copied to our app space, we can do pretty much whatever we want with it, like play it on the app, which is what you just saw. There's a couple other things we need to do that Apple tells us. You also need to go to your info plist, and there's a field you will add. So that is UI supports document browser, set to yes, which I already did set it, but it doesn't show up here. I don't know why, but I did set that. And the other thing you need to do, you need to go to your project editor, go to the app info, and under document types, you want to add in the MIDI file support. So here you will see it says MIDI, and then what file type is it? It's public.midi audio. And this is what's known as a uniform type identifier. That's basically how the computer knows what files we're working with. Every file you see, like maybe it's an MP3 file, maybe it's a WAV file, or whatever kind of file. It could be like maybe in the future we have .instagram files, who knows? But whatever type of file it is, there's a unique identifier for that file. And here we can see, since this MIDI file is kind of a more general file, that's why it's called public.midi audio. And then also under that, we will need to add some additional properties. I just added ls handler rank set to alternate. So make sure and go ahead and do that. And once you do that, the app can pretty much share MIDI. You'll notice some of you who have been following my Urban Pan tutorials, and also it's kind of a mix of the app that Tony from Play It On Pan made, which he made an amazing layout where you can just see all the buttons being pressed, and I integrated the code with that, so that's how you see the buttons being played. And most of the code I actually used is from an awesome framework called AudioKit. This thing is amazing. First of all, the people at AudioKit make open source music apps, which you can check out, and most of them are actually free. Some of them are paid, but I believe there's some that you can get for free right now. But anyway, they also have an awesome open source framework that's like a monster. You can do anything with this thing. They have effects, MIDI functions, which is what I used in this app, sequencing, tuning, nodes, which is kind of how their framework works. You have a bunch of nodes, and you can have different effects like stereo delay, bit crushers. Ooh, we're making some 8-bit stuff, compressors, all sorts of different effects. This thing is crazy, and it's just blows my mind. And to put this thing to the test a little bit later in this video, we're going to be playing a black MIDI, and I'll get to what that is later. But if you want to download this framework for yourself, you can actually clone it directly from the GitHub. So you just open up the terminal just like that, and then type in those commands. It's going to clone it to wherever you want. And once you have that, it's going to look something like this. So I have it in my home, and you can go ahead. There it is. It's the whole framework on your system. So you can go to frameworks and then AudioKit iOS, and you would drag and drop those two frameworks inside of the project. So if we have the Urban Pan, you would just drag those onto that project inside your Xcode project, and you have AudioKit then. It's amazing. That's how I'm doing all the MIDI stuff, if you wondered. All right, continuing on. And so what I did, for those of you who have been following those videos, I just kind of cleaned up some of the MIDI code. What I've kind of found out about AudioKit is that the MIDI file, the MIDI listeners are more to be used to kind of listen for MIDI commands and maybe send it to an external device if you need. You don't necessarily need them to play a MIDI file, actually, because AudioKit already does that for you. So here you can see we create a sampler, and then we create a MIDI port. I still created the virtual MIDI port, but then I create the MIDI file and import that and blah, blah, blah. And how does it know what file that is? Well, what I actually did is, I believe inside of here somewhere, maybe it is, no, it's inside of View Controller. Inside of View Controller, I changed the URL, so it sets the imported MIDI URL equal to this file URL that it copies over. So that's important. That's how the AirDrop does it. It just copies that file URL, which it's pretty cool. It's pretty neat. But yes, for those of you who are interested in learning AudioKit, it's a really great tool. It just makes it so simple to use MIDI in your app. So I recommend checking out my previous videos. And you don't really need to understand the code that much for this next one. I recommend just downloading it. I didn't really change a whole lot, just kind of made it so the MIDI file can work. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And to end the finale, I'm just going to play a Black MIDI file on my iPhone, which I think is pretty cool. Black MIDIs, if you don't know what they are, it's basically a MIDI file that if you were to print it out on sheet music, the whole page would be black just because there's so many notes. So let's go ahead and I'm going to quit my computer. I'm just going to log off of here. And now I'm just on my phone. So we're going to go ahead and go to the internet. Yeah, that was something that I was searching earlier. But let's search for Black MIDI file. So Black MIDI files. Go ahead. And we can just go straight to this. This is the Black MIDI team, kind of cool. And then I like their song LOL, so we can just download it. We'll download. And it's already downloaded. So what we can do now is we can go back to our app, and there it is. It recognizes it. So let's go ahead and play it. Oh wow, it just crashed. That was actually one of the first times it's crashed for me today. I had a lot of trouble getting this working, but it almost worked. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, make sure to leave a like and go ahead, check out Play It on Pan on Instagram. He's the guy who came up with the idea to make this app, and I'm just really glad that this happened and I got this opportunity because it's amazing and he makes a lot of great videos. So go check him out, Play It on Pan. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.